Liftoff. Chapter 4.
That might be. Like I said, everybody sooner or later comes through here.
Artie glowered. I also watched as you and Molly Starstruck came out of the parking lot and waited until the old Buick drove off.
So that proves what exactly? For one thing, it proves we didn't drive that car. And if you were being so observant, you would have noticed I didn't have anything to do with them getting in the car. On top of that, as to where they went and what became of them, I think you are better informed than I. See, you're in the same boat you put me in. You saw the same thing as I, and perhaps a good deal more.
You would have had to be here with us on that night to understand. A new voice was speaking, the voice of Molly Starstruck as she came out of the office. We didn't create this phenomenon. We don't fully understand it. But if you are here, as you are, that only tells me one thing. It tells me, she looked at them, one at a time. You are all involved also, whether you like it or not. Whatever brought you here today also drew us out into that parking lot. Walt listened, like he was being bedazzled by some sideshow carny. Well, I'll be jiggered. You hear that, Zeke? And you too, Sam? Seems we're knee-deep in it now. Zeke, seeing the impasse that had divided up the two groups, tried a little diplomacy.
Now that we know what we know, I suggest we get together, lay our cards on the table, and if you will, and try to figure out what it is we don't know.
They all assembled around one booth. The coffee pot arrived, the mugs filled, the donuts consumed, and then looking around at the assembled group, Molly remarked, I wonder why Sam is here. I mean, we can all fill in many missing pieces of our lives if we're asked, but Sam here can't. So in a way, Sam can't help us much. Then on the other hand, if we're here to explore what we don't know, Sam is certainly the greatest mystery among us, and becomes our most valuable resource of the unknown.
You may have something there, Molly,
added Zeke.
I mean to say, if the secret to this whole thing, this whole shooting match, is some locked up knowledge, then where better to store that knowledge than in a frozen memory?
Sam, coming to life, argued.
I'm willing to wait for the spring thaw and see what happens, but I ain't sticking my head in no microwave, frozen or not.
Walter chuckled.
Oh, come on, Sam. It's in the interest of science, after all. Besides, it's only your head. We can't fit all of you in the oven.
Molly, studying the situation, rolling things over in her mind, said,
That was a poor choice of words. No doubt about that. What do you feel about hypnosis? Hypnosis has quite a history of helping people recover suppressed memories, or in some cases, memories that were being blocked by other agents out of the person's control.
Sam, suddenly finding himself at the center of things, didn't know what to think. He, who had become used to being at the perimeter while others swirled around him, finally looking around, he said,
I'll do it if we all do.
A cloud of uncertainty hovered in the air about the small group in the diner. Old Joe suggested a cautionary approach.
Who among us knows anything about hypnosis? We don't want to get trapped by limiting ourselves to one approach, especially one that might just end up in a dead end. Let's widen our scope.
He turned his attention to Sam.
When I found you wandering about disorientated that day, what possessions, if any, did you have with you, like a wallet or car keys?
Artie jumped in.
Sam, you got any markings, tattoos, that sort of thing? Hey, what about tags on your clothes?
Added Walter.
They might just give us a few clues. And your shoes also.
added Molly. Whether they are dress or casual, at least they will reveal something of your former status. Sam thoughtfully considered these suggestions.
All my original belongings were thrown out, and I was given replacement clothing along with shoes. But no, I didn't have a wallet. My pockets were empty as far as I know. People were going through them in hopes of locating something that revealed my identity. And as for tattoos, I haven't any.
Old Joe seemed unfazed by this response, simply asked,
Why do you think you're here? I guess it's because I'm not somewhere else. Everybody here has a reason for being here. Didn't anyone ever tell you that?
Molly, feeling a bit uneasy, said,
Now, Joe, take it easy. Don't be so hard on the guy. Do any of us really know our purpose for being here? That's just the point. Knowing who you are is perhaps less important than knowing why you are. So I ask again, do you have any idea of why you're here or why any of us are with you?
Sam, looking a little puzzled and slightly intimidated, glanced about the room, looked through the window to the world outside.
I have often wondered about that myself. Why me and not the fellow next to me?
Old Joe smiled.
But don't you see? We're all in the same boat. We're all from time to time wonder why we find ourselves where we are. As for myself,
Joe, Molly cut him off. Each person has a right to find their own way. Besides, sooner or later, all roads lead to Rome, don't they? Old Joe, with a determined look on his face, said,
Let me tell you a story. A very unusual story. You are free to believe me or not.
Molly, appearing anxious, stated,
We haven't got time
for another one of your stories. It was Artie who spoke up next. No, I, for one, would like to hear what Joe has to say. It sounds intriguing.
Well,
started Old Joe.
Thing is, I remember. I don't know if remember is the right word, but I have flashes of being somewhere else at a time before this time. You get what I mean. Somewhere entirely different. We live beneath the ground. Subterranean tunnels. Natural, not man-made. Leading to and from cavities. I guess you call them caves. Natural formations carved out by nature. Then one event occurred that changed everything. The architect showed up. People say he went right into the cave from above. He didn't come through one of the pre-existing passages. He just created his own path right through the rock. The architect revealed a world we knew nothing of. How to form shapes, contours, passages, rooms. How to excavate for ourselves. All one needed was some foreign concepts. He engraved them on the wall. He revealed the line, square, circle, and triangle, and explained what lay beyond. The plane, cube, sphere, and pyramid, and all their deviations. That is why both Molly and I are here.
The room fell quite quiet. All eyes turned towards Old Joe. Zeke and Walter thought about their curiosity with the game of checkers, with its round checkers and the grid of squares marked out on the board.
But,
Walter protested,
everyone, even little kids, know this.
Molly answered,
No one is born with this knowledge. It must first be taught.
Artie, listening intently, remarked, I have a feeling this involves more than just you two. I've got a feeling this involves all of us, to a lesser degree, perhaps, but nevertheless, we are involved.
Don't you get it? It involves everyone in this town. This is a preparation center, a clearance center, and it's all predicated on the line, the square, the circle, and the triangle. Where are you going? Where we're all going. Life isn't possible outside these boundaries.
Sam looked at Old Joe with wonder in his eyes.
Is that where I came from?